It is Christmas here at the Provident Prepper. We got some stuff we want to show you.
Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Mike, I'm the Provident Prepper Jr., I'm his son.
And I'm Robert, I'm the Provident Prepper Jr. as well, and I'm his son and his twin.
Yep, we're twins. Now we want to show you what we got here today. We got some products from Midland. Midland makes communication products like walkie-talkies and GMRS radios, which is what we want to show you today. We haven't opened these, we don't know what's in here yet, but we're gonna open them and take a look. Come and join us. So we're gonna start with this small one. Now, while I'm opening this, let me tell you the backstory. I've had lots of walkie-talkies in my day, and my favorite have been the Midland. They're the most reliable. They provide the best quality products I've had. So we reached out to Midland to see if they would let us review some of their products, and this is what they sent us. Now let us give you some background. One of the things that we wanted to do in buying all this is to have a way to communicate if the grid goes down. If we lose all, like cell phones go away, for whatever reason, if you've read the book 1 second after, it talks about an EMP, who knows what could happen, but if you lose the ability to communicate, you might want to have some backups. So let's take a look here first. We have their newest model here. This is the MXT500. This is the most powerful GMRS radio you can buy. It's 50 watts of power, and it should be able to cover great distances. Now, we all live about 40 miles apart. Dad here lives in one location. I live about 20 miles away, and Bobby here lives about another 20 miles away. And we want to see if we can communicate with these, the most powerful radios you can buy on the GMRS frequencies. We want to see if we'll be able to communicate from house to house with these.
One of the things that we're not sure about is if Mike is in the middle of us two. So could we go from my house all the way to Dad's house, or would we need to go through Mike in the middle? So that's one of the things that we're interested to see and to experiment with.
Yeah. So that's the first thing in this box. And this should be a very easy to radio to use. I forgot to mention, these radios are user friendly. They're not for some expert that knows everything about this. This is something that should be pretty easy to use. We'll show you those later. So when Midland told us that they were going to send us 3 of everything so that we could all communicate if the grid goes down, you have no idea how excited we were. It was like a bluebird right up your left nostril. It really was that exciting, okay? So let's see what else Midland has for us here. Oh my goodness, they got some shirts. So look at this. It's a medium. Looks like this is for Dad. He's a little shorter than we are.
Yeah, I'm a little. Merry
Christmas, Dad. All right, we got a green and a gray. We got... Whoa, look at this. Hey, you got 2 mediums, Dad.
Oh, wow.
There you go. You got a green one.
I can wear 2 at once.
And Bruh and me will be matching.
Nice.
Very cool.
So we got these gray shirts.
These ought to help us communicate too, see, because we'll be wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, this will add like another 20 watts to our communications abilities.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And
thanks,
also in box number 1, we got
emergency crank radio.
So this has it's a weather radio, so you can turn it into weather alerts. This would be awesome for knowing what's coming, especially you people that live where there's hurricanes. This would be a cool way to go. Then you could keep up to tabs. Even if the power goes out, you got something where you can know what's coming.
Sweet.
And that's got a, hold on, let's see this. This has got a crank on it, so it's, you don't even have to have a battery. You could crank it. Like a wheat grinder.
Well, I'm kind of cranky sometimes. Maybe I could do that.
I think that's the wrong crank, Dad.
Oh, all right. All right.
All right, let's open box number 2 here. This one's a little bigger. Let's see what we got in this one. This really is like Christmas. All right.
A bluebird up the left nostril.
Maybe a bluebird up both nostrils. Both nostrils. Okay, Dad, you want to start us here?
Okay, these are your basic 2-way radios. And
they run on the FRS frequencies. So let me talk just a minute about this.
Yeah.
These normal walkie-talkies run on FRS frequencies, which means that anybody can use them, but that also means that anybody could be on your channel and you don't have privacy. Now the other cool thing about these walkie-talkies here, they have a whole bunch of channels here. They say they have a 38-mile range. That's in like ideal conditions. No, that's like line of sight communication. But they have 36 channels with 121 privacy codes. This is one of the cool things about these new Midland radios is you can put in a privacy code. That means that if you're on channel 36 and privacy code 2, you're only going to hear people on channel 36 and privacy code 2. You won't hear everybody else, which is really nice. And that's one thing I love about these Midland radios is those privacy codes. They're awesome.
I remember one time we were using radios like this that didn't have privacy codes. We were using them while backpacking, and we had a whole bunch of other people talking on the same channel as us. And once we switched to something like this, I don't think we've ever had problems ever since then, since we use the privacy codes.
It's awesome. Really is nice. Okay, let's look at what's next here. Ooh, we have their most powerful, as I understand it, this is Midland's most powerful handheld walkie-talkie. It's also a GMRS, but this radio here, it's the MXT1000 or the GXT1000. This has both FRS and GMRS capabilities. You can be on either one. So if you wanted to buy a powerful radio, you could get this one and not have to get the GMRS license, but the catch with that is the channels that you are allowed to operate on are lower power. So if you want the really big communication, you probably should get a GMRS license. Great radios here though. One of the things I like about these Midlands, and we'll talk more about this later, is the controls. The volume knob is on top, and we'll show you this. It just makes it a little easier to use and to turn the volume up and down and turn them on and off. All right, what's next, Dad?
All right, here we go. 15 watts. Now these are not quite as powerful, but these are great for like a mobile unit. So these 15 watts, you're going to be able to still cover a lot of ground with these, and they are going to do a great job.
And these are great for road trips. If you want if you have 2 vehicles in a road trip or 3 vehicles, get some of these walkie-talkies and you will never go back. Isn't that right, bruh?
It's so true, especially because when you're out driving in the middle of nowhere, like we love to go to national parks, you just don't have a lot of cell service there. So if you're trying to call up the other car and you have no cell service, then it's almost like you have to pull over to communicate with each other. But with something like this, you just keep on trucking, and it's awesome.
No need to dial a number. All you gotta do is push that button and talk. And I'll tell you this, if you get these for road trips, you will never go back. They are so nice to have for road trips. This is a great option to mount in your vehicle. And by the way, this radio right here and these really powerful ones, they are meant to be mounted in a vehicle. However, you don't have to exclusively use them in a vehicle. You can use them in your house if you have a way to power them. So if you have like a Jackery power station, or I think Midland even makes a power bank unit for these, then you can run them from your house, which is something that we're gonna try in a little bit here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's, oh, more shirts, look at that! Oh,
we could wear
snap. All right, I'm gonna put these with the other shirts here. Okay, we have a long antenna cable. This cable is designed to be used with these GMRS radios that are supposed to be mounted in a car. Can you put that over there?
Yep.
All right, what do we have here, Dad? There's no labels on these.
I think these are power supplies.
Aha, as we were just mentioning, if you want to be able to use these radios from your house, this is how to do it right here. You get these Midland power supplies. This is a model LPX14. This would allow you to use your radios at your house if you want to communicate house to house. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, it looks like there's 3 of those as well. 1 to go with each of these. All right. Well, we'll be back with you. We're going to let you know how this all goes.
This has been so exciting. Thank you, Santa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Santa Midland.
Yes, thank you, Santa Midland.
So now that we've donned our matching Midland apparel, and now that we've tested out these wonderful radios, we want to tell you about them and what we've done with them. So our biggest concern was being able to talk to each other here because we don't live in the same place. What happens if there's an EMP and cell phones stop working? How are we going to communicate? That's one of the most important things we could lose. And that's where these radios come in, and these radios too. So this is the MXT500 by Midland. This is the most powerful radio that you can buy. It's 50 watts, which is the maximum allowable by law. Now I need to mention it is also a GMRS radio, so you have to have a GMRS license to use it, but they're not expensive and your whole family can use it. So this radio is originally designed to go in a vehicle. So it has a way to wire this into your vehicle's power or your tractor's power or your Jeep's power or your Razor's power, whatever, and then you can talk to people. But that's not what we wanted to use it for. We wanted the 50 watts, the most powerful communications power, but we wanted to have it in our home. That is where this comes in. Midland also sells this power supply. And you can hook up this power supply to this radio that normally goes in cars, and we can talk to each other from a long distance away. Pretty cool stuff.
Now, I was a little bit skeptical because although we only live about 12 miles apart,
as the crow flies,
we have a ridge between us that's up about 500 feet. I didn't think we'd be able to talk. Then, in this case, we live 32 miles apart. 35.2 miles. 35 miles apart. I thought there's no way in the world that we're going to be able to communicate.
Because of that ridge, it's like almost 600 feet that this signal has to go up and over and then back down. We didn't think it was going to work, right?
I was totally surprised. I was absolutely shocked when I could talk to Mike and just did handsprings when I could talk to Rob, because I thought there was no way that we could talk that far apart. Maybe you have a similar situation. Maybe you have family and loved ones that are extended distance away, but with enough line of sight that you could talk using this kind of a radio. This is a godsend for us.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to call out is that when I was at my house, 35.2 miles away from my dad, I had this little antenna on that comes with the radio, and I could hear him, but he could not hear me. And so one of the things that I had to do is I had to buy a taller antenna. They call it a high gain antenna. And by getting that high gain antenna, not only could I hear him, but he could start hearing me as well. So there's some equipment out there that will allow you, just if you get this radio and you've got the small antenna and you think, oh, I couldn't communicate with somebody, well, there's a bigger antenna out there and that can make a big difference.
And it's a 6 decibel gain, 6 dB gain. And the way I understand it is for every 3 decibel, I don't know if it's called decibels, but 3 dB, that's doubling your signal. So if it's a 6 dB gain, that's a 4 times stronger signal that you can get with Midland's 6 dB gain antenna. It's a little taller. And this Midland radio comes with a few mounts. It comes with the one that's on here. It's kind of like a screw-on mount. And then it also comes with a magnetic mount. And then it also comes with this like 3M sticky tape mount. Now, the magnetic mount's not here because it's currently up on the roof, because that's where we put it so that we could talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the one I would recommend using if you have like a metal roof, or if you're going to use this in your cars. The magnetic mount's awesome. You just stick it up there and it stays, which is really cool.
I should mention that right now we are using omnidirectional antennas, which means when we talk, it's similar to this one right here. We're using taller ones, but this signal's going out in every direction. Sometimes that's great. A lot of times that's great. Sometimes that's not so great. So we are actually going to do another video coming soon on beam antennas, where that signal is going one direction. As it turns out, our homes are in line.
As assuredly as a bluebird would fly right up that left nostril.
Absolutely.
Our homes are right in a line.
And so that works great for us because those beam antennas give us lots more power and allow us to talk more easily. More coming on that very soon. To clarify, each one of us has one of these base stations. It can be mounted in a car. We have them mounted at our homes.
With the antennas on the roof. And this, we got to have the 50 watts, remember, to get over this huge 600-foot hill, and then the distance between us. It's the 50 watt.
We have to have this 50 watts to be able to talk to each other. Now, Rob, tell us about what happens if we're just talking locally.
So one of the cool things is if you have a base station here, this will go short distances as well. So we also have these handheld units that are portable and great to put on your belt or put in your pocket or whatever, so that if a crisis happened and you needed to have some of your family members go check on some neighbors or some other family close by, you just take a little handheld with you. And depending on the terrain, this could go a mile or a couple of miles. It just depends on what's between you and the base station. But this would allow you to communicate within your community, whereas this gives you the ability to communicate communicate over much longer distances. So there is a place in your preparedness to have both long distance communication and shorter distance communication as well.
And one of the cool things about this radio is, if I understand correctly, in the past, the Midland micro mobiles have not been able to do narrowband, which is what these smaller handhelds, a lot of those run on narrowband. But they've changed this so that it can run on narrowband, so that you have the ability to talk to all the different Midland handheld walkie-talkie models just around town here.
And those who have the handheld units, they can talk back and forth to each other. We can all communicate with each other, with the base station, whoever's at home with the base station, and whoever's out and about with these handhelds.
Something else that's cool about these handhelds that we have loved is that when we get together and play games and our kids want to run off to the park and play, we will often send them with one of these and just have them clip it onto their pants. And then when it's time to come home, we can be lazy. We don't have to go all the way over to the park and tell them to come home. We can just push the button and talk and say, you rascals, get your booties back here because it's time for dinner. One of the things that I haven't liked in years past with other walkie-talkies is that you're constantly hearing other people communicate on the same channel that you're trying to communicate. So a few years ago when we were hiking a mountain, Mike was down at base camp and I was up on the summit, and I was hearing some people communicating on the nearby highway. The way that they've solved this is really remarkable. They have created privacy codes for these channels. So for each channel there are 142 privacy codes, which means that if you go onto the channel, and let's say you go to privacy, channel 1, privacy code 21, like we're on right now, then the only people who will be able to hear you or speak back to you are those that are transmitting on that privacy code 21, which really makes it nice. And in the event of a crisis, if these channels get clogged up, you can use these privacy codes so that you have less of a chance of overlapping with somebody else.
So let me explain how these work. This radio is just set to channel 1, no privacy code at all. This radio is set to channel 1, privacy code 21. Now, this is kind of misleading. You have to understand how these work. It's not really a privacy code. What it does is it just allows you to not get all the interference. So remember, this one does not have a privacy filter, and this one does. So if I broadcast with this one that has privacy code 21 on, Bobby can hear me on this radio here.
Loud and clear, good buddy.
But I can't hear him because I have this privacy filter on. So if this is somebody else talking on some other radio, go ahead and talk.
Talk to me, goose.
You don't hear it. It's just not there because you have this privacy filter. And that's one of the greatest features about these Midland radios, is the ability to filter out all that other background noise.
Now, don't be intimidated by these radios. Some people will hear the term amateur radio and feel intimidated and feel like it's not something that they want to get into. Well, with this unit here, it's really quite easy to get into. The first thing that you do is you go to the FCC and you pay $40 and you get, I think it's a 10-year license. There's no test, there's no classes, there's no anything. It really is as simple as paying the $40 fee and getting your license.
And that's for the whole family.
And to be fair, the FCC's website is kind of difficult to navigate, but there's some videos out there on YouTube that can help you with that. But it is an easy process as long as you know how to navigate their kind of confusing website.
Now, let's be clear about this. This is not something you're going to buy and stick in a box somewhere and just not do anything with. You need to practice with this. Like anything else, you need to practice. And you need to have perhaps a monthly or a weekly drill with your family. We have a cheat sheet. You should create some kind of a cheat sheet so everybody's on the same page as to which channel you're on, which privacy code you're on, and if that isn't working for some reason, which one you're going to switch to. And then all the other protocols and just some tips about how to use the radio. This is something you want to practice with on a regular basis. Try it out, keep it working, and make sure that everybody's up to speed and everybody can use these, because in a crisis, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to do you no good.
And we had to practice with these. It took us a little while to figure out all the settings that had to be adjusted just the way we are. And that's what we put on our cheat sheet, right? We put in, for this setting we use this, and this privacy code we use that. And once you dial all that in, then you'll be able to communicate. The last thing we feel obliged to mention is if you're going to buy these really nice pieces of equipment that are kind of costly, protect them. So if you look at the video that's in the link below, we built Faraday cages to protect electronics from an EMP event. And that might be something that you should consider. If you keep this inside of a Faraday cage, and there is an event like that, you'll still be able to talk, which was our entire goal from the get-go with this. So I keep my radio tucked away, safe in my Faraday cage, so that if it ever does happen that we need it, then it's ready to go. So please keep them in a safe place. Don't buy a really expensive radio and then just put it on a shelf in the closet if you are trying to use it for an emergency like that.
And I love the idea of having a drill. If you did once a month or even once a year where you break out the radio and you turn it on and you go to the predetermined stations and practice with your family so that you're ready for that event.
Yeah. Now the question of the day. What is your family's emergency communication plan? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.